Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dollar Roots. Today, we're diving deep into a story that sent a chill through the fast food industry. We're going behind the counter at one of America's most beloved brands to uncover a surprising financial drama. We're talking about Dairy Queen, but not the whole company. Instead, we're focusing on a massive franchisee that suddenly filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. What really happened? How did a company running dozens of Dairy Queens end up in financial trouble? And what does this story tell us about the risks and rewards of the franchise world? This isn't just about ice cream and burgers. It's a fascinating case study in business, economics, and survival. So grab a blizzard, get comfortable, and let's get into the real scoop behind the headlines. It all went down in late 2017. A company named Vasari LLC, a major player in the Dairy Queen franchise system, made a shocking announcement. They were filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Now, Vasari wasn't just a small-time operator. They were a huge franchisee, running around 70 Dairy Queen locations spread across Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. For many communities in these states, Vasari was Dairy Queen. The news left employees, customers, and industry watchers asking the same question. How could this happen? This wasn't a corporate-level bankruptcy for the parent company, Dairy Queen, which is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. This was one of their biggest partners hitting a financial wall, and the reasons behind it are more complex than you might think. So what exactly pushed a multi-state franchise operator to the brink? It wasn't one single thing, but a perfect storm of economic and environmental disasters. A key factor was the dramatic plunge in oil prices that started a few years earlier. Texas and Oklahoma, where many of Vasari's stores were located, have economies heavily reliant on the oil and gas industry. When oil prices collapsed, it created a ripple effect. Layoffs increased, consumer spending tightened, and local economies slowed down significantly. People who once had plenty of disposable income for a treat at Dairy Queen were now cutting back. Fewer customers walking through the door meant a direct hit to Vasari's revenue, a problem that compounded month after month. As if a regional economic downturn wasn't enough, Mother Nature delivered another devastating blow. In August 2017, Hurricane Harvey slammed into the Texas coast. It was one of the most destructive hurricanes in U.S. history, causing widespread flooding and catastrophic damage. Several of Vasari's Dairy Queen locations were directly in the hurricane's path. These stores suffered significant physical damage, forcing them to close for extended periods. Besides the structural repairs, they faced massive inventory losses, all the food, all the supplies, ruined by floodwaters. For a business already struggling with declining sales, the unexpected costs and lost revenue from the hurricane were a critical hit, pushing their fragile financial situation over the edge. It was a 1-2 punch of economic hardship and natural disaster that proved too much to handle. On top of these major external shocks, Vasari was also dealing with the same pressures facing the entire fast food industry. Operating costs were on the rise. We're talking about everything from the price of beef and dairy to increasing labor wages. When your costs go up, but your sales are going down, your profit margins get squeezed into almost nothing. At the same time, competition in the fast casual dining sector was fiercer than ever. New burger joints, trendy cafes, and other quick service restaurants were popping up everywhere, all competing for the same customers. Vasari's Dairy Queens, many of which were older models, found it difficult to compete with the fresh, modern appeal of newer chains. It was a battle on all fronts: a struggling local economy, rising internal costs, and intense market competition. Faced with mounting debt and shrinking revenues, Vasari LLC made the difficult decision to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's important to understand what Chapter 11 actually means. It's often called reorganization bankruptcy, unlike Chapter 7, which involves liquidating all assets and shutting down completely. Chapter 11 allows a company to pause, catch its breath, and create a plan to restructure its debts and operations while continuing to do business. For Vasari, this was a strategic move aimed at survival, not surrender. The goal wasn't to close up shop and walk away. The goal was to shed the parts of the business that were failing, renegotiate their debts with creditors, and emerge as a smaller, but hopefully more stable and profitable company. It was a chance to save what they could of the business and the jobs that depended on it. So what did this reorganization look like in practice? The first major step under the bankruptcy plan was to analyze their portfolio of 70 stores and identify which ones were draining the company's resources. This led to the difficult decision to permanently close 29 of their most underperforming locations. These were the stores that were losing the most money and had the least potential for a turnaround. While closing stores is always a painful process, it was a necessary surgery to save the patient. By cutting off these financial black holes, Vasari could redirect its limited resources to the remaining 41 stores that were still viable or had a strong chance of becoming profitable again. This strategic downsizing was the core of their comeback plan. One of the most significant impacts of any bankruptcy is on the workforce. When Vasari announced the closure of 29 stores, it meant that hundreds of employees were unfortunately going to lose their jobs. This is the harsh human cost of business failure. However, the Chapter 11 filing, in a way, also acted as a job-saving measure. By reorganizing instead of liquidating the entire company, Vasari was able to keep its 41 most profitable stores open. This action directly preserved the jobs of over 700 employees who would have otherwise been out of work if the company had gone under completely. The bankruptcy process provided a legal framework to make these tough choices, ultimately allowing a leaner version of the company to survive and continue employing a significant number of people in their local communities. Now here's a really interesting takeaway from this entire situation. While Vasari LLC, the franchisee, was going through a public and painful bankruptcy, the overall Dairy Queen brand remained incredibly strong. Many people heard the news and thought, is Dairy Queen going out of business? But that wasn't the case at all. This highlights a key feature of the franchise model. The risks are often isolated at the franchisee level. The parent corporation, Dairy Queen, was financially insulated from Vasari's problems. While they certainly weren't happy to see a major partner struggle, it didn't threaten the stability of the entire brand. In fact, during this same period, thousands of other Dairy Queen locations across the country and around the world were thriving. This case is a powerful example of how franchising can diffuse risk across a network of independent owners. The story of Vasari's bankruptcy is a real-world lesson in business resilience. It shows that even a large, established operator connected to an iconic brand is not immune to external shocks. A sudden downturn in a local economy or a catastrophic natural disaster can bring even a seemingly stable business to its knees. It underscores the importance of having contingency plans and being able to adapt quickly to unforeseen circumstances. It also demonstrates the strategic power of Chapter 11 bankruptcy as a tool for recovery. It's not just an end. It can be a new beginning, a chance for a company to restructure, rebound, and find a path back to profitability. For Vasari, it was a fight for survival that required drastic measures. Ultimately, this story serves as a sober reminder for anyone in business, especially in the franchise world. Your success can be deeply tied to regional economic factors that are completely outside of your control. For Vasari, their heavy concentration in oil-dependent states became their Achilles heel when the market turned. This event is a compelling case study taught in business schools about risk management, the importance of geographic diversification, and the pros and cons of the franchise business model. It shows that while a big brand name provides support and recognition, it doesn't guarantee success. The individual franchisee still bears the primary financial risk. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the story behind the Dairy Queen franchisee bankruptcy. It's a fascinating look at how economics, weather, and business strategy can all collide. If you found this story interesting and want to see more content that uncovers the real stories behind the business headlines, please make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with a friend and subscribe to Dollar Roots. Your support helps us keep making these videos. Till next time, stay curious and keep learning.